Hey everybody, it's casually toxic, and I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, it's only been 1 week, not 2 weeks, and you'd be right. We're gonna try a weekly thing. It's gonna fail miserably, or succeed miserably, but either way, this is episode 18. We're down one person. Sirius is in California. My heart is broken. Matt, how's your heart doing?
It's pretty broken. I'm glad we traded like a week for a person. It kind of works out. It balances out.
So now it's just you and I
Yeah.
talking about topics.
So if we do it like 2 times a week, then it'll just be like me or you rambling to ourselves
Oh man,
if this trend continues.
let's keep it going.
So we
Let's-
should really push to like two
Yeah.
times a week.
We can just have our own separate random ramble corners.
Yeah, I'll do the first one and then you do the second one,
I
and
wanna
I'll
do the
have a
first one.
conversation. Okay, fine. You can on the first one,
Thank you.
and then I'll do the second one, and then we can just have conversations with ourselves.
I like this.
Yeah.
But
Casually Toxic, 2 times a week podcast.
uh, we're not with ourselves. We're with each other, Matt. Power of friendship. And you know what? I want to hear your thoughts on Dauntless, the video game. You've played it. Give me the hot take. Give me the deets. You've never played Monster Hunter, so this is going to be really one-sided.
Yeah, I know. This is why I didn't talk about it last week, because I played it before the last podcast, but I don't have a frame of reference for it.
Right.
So
I guess, like, how does it feel, though? Like, is it fun
it
to fight
feels
monsters?
it feels like a AAA game. Like, going into it, I would assume that'd be worth $60. The art style is fantastic. That you should like. It's like WildStar,
Okay.
which is an MMO that has a great art style. Kind of cartoonish, comic booky. It's hard to explain. It's not cel shaded, but it kind of has that vibe.
Yeah, no, I've
Um,
seen it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful looking. The production quality on that end of it is amazing. The gameplay is really smooth. The combat's extremely snappy, and the grind is there.
Okay, so that's something. I mean, I didn't plan it, so that's on me. But listen, that's something I want to talk about because I heard it was like Monster Hunter, but if you didn't like grinding.
See, it's hard for me to say because I don't have a frame of reference with
Yeah.
Monster Hunter. There's multiple times near the beginning of the game where I had to go on a mission or whatever to kill, or a hunt to kill the same monster multiple times to craft armor that unlocked as I killed new monsters.
Okay, but it's not like. I guess how's it crap? Is it like you kill 5 fucking
You get-
stegodons?
So yeah, kinda, and then you'll get their parts. At least near the beginning of the game, you can attack their tail and obviously get a different part if you
Yeah,
destroy
yeah.
the tail, which I know is a standard kind of Monster Hunter style thing. But you just keep whacking at them, and then you'll get pieces of them. And once you hit a certain threshold, you can craft this piece of armor, or you can upgrade the piece of armor to +1 or +2. It didn't seem like very complicated in the beginning at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think what they're going for is like not what I hope they're
Yeah.
going for is not Monster Hunter and more of like a cartoony thing. Because I feel like if you're trying to compete with Monster Hunter, with the success of World, it's not gonna happen.
I've heard people say also Monster Hunter is more about like the hunt, like not necessarily just the fight, whereas Dauntless is just about the fight.
I guess. Have you? What? I guess. I mean, you
I don't know because I
yeah.
haven't played Monster Hunter World. But in Monster Hunter World, when you go on a hunt, there's other things you're doing other than just like whacking
Yeah.
away at the boss, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's items you can pick up that like help you hunt, and then you
Okay.
have to track the thing, and then there could be other monsters around.
Okay, so there's no other monsters around to my knowledge. You can pick up things. I never found a use for them other than to do a single quest near the beginning.
Right.
And you don't spend a lot of time tracking it. You run around the map, you find it within maybe 15 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds with your 3 other group mates. You whack on it, it'll hop away, and then you run to where it hops away, and then you whack on it some more, and that's the entire like hunt, beginning to end.
Is it hard? Like, how many unique monsters have you killed?
I've killed probably like 3 or 4 unique monsters. Okay. It was not particularly hard. It looks cool. There's some mechanics at play. It's just the mechanics weren't very difficult. But again, this was maybe like 4 to 6 hours with the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nowhere near. Apparently, you have like your legendary monsters or in-game monsters, and then you also have like mythic or like elite versions of them
Okay.
that you then do to access like the in-game gear.
And
And that's in-game is like killing those monsters
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
farming and upgrading.
I mean, that's kind of how it is in Monster Hunter. It gets to a point where like you can upgrade your gear, but it's kind of like it's really hard, it's really rare, and you're just like basically min-maxing at that point. But is the combat fun? Because like I've seen clips of it and it looks all right, but it looks like you press like 2 separate buttons and that's it. Which is kind of what Monster Hunter is, but there's like different combos that you can loop into or whatever.
There's different combos. If you hit select when you're in game, it'll pull up a sheet or a page where you'll see like I think up to 7 to 8 different combos is what I saw with,
Right.
and I was using the hammer, which also has a gun built into it.
That's pretty cool.
That if you hit I think Y, you actually like use this shotgun blast, and you can tie that into your melee combos.
That's cool.
And then that does like elemental damage, which you want to do. I'm unclear on when you want to use like physical versus elemental damage in some fights. Like at certain points, you're going to want to use elemental damage. So there is some depth there.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be free to play, so it's not like it has to be better than Monster Hunter.
No, and how I saw someone discussing this, and Dauntless, what their goal was, or what their vision was for Dauntless, was that Dauntless is going to be to Monster Hunter what Warframe is to Destiny, and kind of like along those lines. Like it's the lower budget game that's for more sustainable over the long term. That will have like a worthy amount of content in a year or two.
Okay, I can see that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like Warframe's better than Destiny, but that's like a personal
Destiny
thing.
is like the Warframe is not like a triple A
Yeah, no,
like
I see what you're
published
saying.
release, whereas like Monster Hunter is this big triple A published release, has the brand recognition.
Yeah.
Dauntless is the lesser known developer, not as much of a budget, but it has the free to play model, which makes it sustainable for longer than Monster Hunter World will probably be sustainable. And it's just like speculation, but in a few years you'll see like that's when Dauntless will start hitting like its stride.
I hope so.
It took a few years for Warframe to hit its stride. Like
Oh, no,
day
100%.
one of Warframe, everyone was just like,
Yeah,
"Why
no,
the fuck would you even play this?"
I heard Warframe was awful
Yeah.
initially. I guess, I mean, I feel like it's hard to remember that before World, Monster Hunter was that like, at least in the U.S., like a lesser realized kind of product. Like people played it, but it wasn't like, I mean, I guess it's not it's not as small as Dauntless is at this point, but it definitely wasn't like a huge fucking game that like everybody was playing.
Well, it was globally, I think, right?
Yeah,
like
Japan.
and that's kind of factor into it. It's easy to like kind of fall into like, well, it wasn't in the U.S., so it wasn't. But Monster Hunter was always a giant thing, just not as big here, right?
Right.
Whereas I think Dauntless
It's just small everywhere.
Well, Dauntless had to launch now before Monster Hunter World comes out on PC. They were targeting like the PC market that's waiting for Monster Hunter World to come out in August, so it had a bunch of like hype built up, and it's just kind of like riding on that. If it released after Monster Hunter World, I think it would not even be getting any recognition right now.
I mean, like, I guess it's kind of like Overwatch, right? Super popular.
It's like Overwatch and Lawbreakers.
Or it's like Overwatch and Paladins.
Paladins is popular.
Yeah,
though.
but that's the thing. It's like Hi-Rez's free-to-play Overwatch. I haven't played it, so this is going to be me talking out my ass, but it seems not as good. If you like Paladins and you think it's better, feel free to email us even, at Casually Toxic Questions. Give me your hot takes. But, I don't know. It's just like, I hope it does good, because I feel like better, or not better, but more hunting games just leads to a better market just in general. And the other hunting games are kind of like not great, because I feel like you really have to nail combat. Otherwise, it's like not fun, and the gameplay loop is repetitive instead of interesting.
I enjoyed the combat as someone that didn't play Monster Hunter. I haven't seen anyone specifically complaining about the combat in the Dauntless community. I assume that it's fine and standard. I don't know, like, on a bigger scale, because, again, I haven't played Monster Hunter, is how much legs, like, the hunting genre has. I don't know how many games really need to populate this space. Isn't it The closest comparison I could make would probably be Souls games. Do we need Souls-like games beyond Dark Souls?
Well, I mean, like I feel like it's always, at least personally, I love the combat in Dark Souls and Souls games, but I also really like the atmosphere and just like the world design.
Sure.
So for me, it'd be like, I'm okay if it's just literally a rip of Dark Souls combat, right?
So did you play Lords of the Fallen?
I think I tried it.
Okay.
But I mean, I didn't buy it. From other
Lords of the Fallen was a Souls like pretty much 1-to-1 and one of the first Souls like games that came out, and everyone was like, it's they thought there was a hunger for it, right, because of how Souls games were doing, and then not many people played it, and it wasn't really well reviewed.
Yeah, I thought it was like too slow though.
That could be one complaint against it. I just remember not doing well, and same with The Surge, which was another Souls-like game. Just didn't do well. Like everyone expected there to be this huge market for Souls-like games, and there wasn't. And I guess in my mind, I could just see that happening with hunting games, where everyone assumes that there's like a huge hunger for it, but it's like, no, Monster Hunter World kind of just satiates that hunger, and no one actually wants, because there are other hunting games like God Eater.
Yeah, stuff. But those are there's like specifically with God Eater, I've heard the comment is not great.
See, I've heard great things about God Eater, specifically from Giant Bomb, but I've heard great things about God Eater. It's just people don't really want to play hunting games beyond their main Monster Hunter hunting game.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's something that you can only really determine once you've had like a million games in the genre. But I mean, for going back to Dark Souls, excuse me, Salt and Sanctuary is like that.
Yeah, but that's far enough off the beaten path, and it's also indie game with an indie budget.
Yeah,
that's why that ended up being somewhat successful. If Salt and Sanctuary was a full 3D non-side scrolling like AAA or at least Dark Souls like quality, no one would be looking at Salt and Sanctuary and be like, that was a success. They're looking at it and being like, it's a success because it's an indie budget game.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, like I feel like directly ripping off Dark Souls is kind of like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like it permeated the industry and it changed a lot of things. Like the combat in Dark Souls, I feel like is prevalent in a lot of other games. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't necessarily have a stamina bar or whatever, but it's still like, even if they're not directly copying it, they definitely were heavily influenced.
I agree.
I feel like in hunting games, right? Like, Dauntless was interesting because I heard that it's almost like you're playing like a goddamn ARPG, right? Like Diablo or Path, and you get like a legendary item and it changes something. Like it does some special effect.
So based on my experience, the closest comparison, I understand where the ARPG aspect comes in for sure, and the best comparison I can make just in terms of like gear and menus, and the game has exotics. You can probably see where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
it's like it feels very Destiny-esque in terms of the overall game, but also just the amount of depth it has.
Yeah, I don't know.
So.
I hope it does well, just because I feel like personally, I love that genre. Like I like, my favorite part of Dark Souls was like killing all these like, crazy ass bosses, and Monster Hunter is basically like everything's a boss. So I really hope it does well, and it's free to play, so it's not really like it's gonna be free to play forever, so it's not really like a huge investment. I don't know.
It didn't seem pay to win either. I looked over the store for Dauntless. There was the normal patron, which is $10 or $15 a month, which gives you extra experience and reputation. But there's nothing blatantly pay to win. I know there used to be, I think in November of 2017 is what I read, and then it got patched out in the last few months, I think partially just because of the Battlefront 2 like controversy. We're still seeing effects of that in games,
That's
especially
hilarious.
free-to-play games that are coming out. So they ripped out the pay-to-win aspects in loot boxes recently.
I don't remember where we fell on Battlefront 2, but I'm glad that people bitched enough to where it like reverberated through the industry.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's just like, that was just too much.
Yeah.
Especially for a $60 purchase. But swapping off to an only semi ARPG, Let me
Where's
hear.
where's this going?
I'm full ARPG, Path of Exile. New league just started. Matt's already he hit max level first. Everything first. He stood up for 48 hours. It's only been out for like something.
A lot of path happened this week. I got Reddit famous briefly. That was exciting. I've never been Reddit famous before. I didn't set out with the goal of becoming Reddit famous, but now that I am
Reddit famous,
my
You hit
worldview
post?
my worldview has changed a little bit.
That's
sure.
fair enough.
Definitely. So big thanks to anyone that read my guide on the Path of Exile builds Reddit. I hope you guys listen to previous ones or listening now. That's
our only views, other than us. It's your people on that Reddit.
This entire section is kind of dedicated to you guys. So basically, I'll just start with the Reddit thing because I'll talk about the week in linear fashion.
You made a thank you. I just got water brought to me by our assistant.
By our assistant, our producer, man.
No, he's
Don't
our
talk
assistant.
about him like that.
Yeah. So it's a bunch of guides.
Essentially, I feel kind of bad because when I was like browsing Reddit, I was looking at the top posts for like a month and year, and I'm like number 2 and then number 6 respectfully. I was like, I did not put that much compared to people that are making their builds from scratch. I did not put that much effort into this. But basically, I spent the 2 or 3 days prior to the league. I mean, I probably spent like 20 or 30 hours parsing through builds for Path of Exile characters. And I just wanted to compile all my research in one place, and the builds that I found that met my requirements, which were primarily builds that could serve as good league starters, which means they can clear maps. And also I wanted builds that were powerful enough to complete all the content in the game, including like the big bad, like hard mode
the
bosses.
Uber Elders.
So I just wanted to find, but the goal was to find all my options for that. And then once I found a bunch of options, I did my research. I made sure each build wasn't hit by nerfs in the 3.3 patch that just came out. And then I put them all in one place on Reddit, and it was kind of just for me, and I was also looking for some feedback for other people to add builds, so I knew all the options that I could pick from for the league. And then next thing I knew, it was like spiraling out of control. People were asking questions every 2 seconds. I was looking up information, trying to answer questions. No one was adding any builds to the post.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that was my
Reddit.
Primary purpose of putting on Reddit was to get some level of feedback on like the builds I chose.
My whole post history on Reddit is just me shit talking other people. It's just me getting mad.
I don't expect that from like the Path of Exile community. The Path of Exile community is usually has strong opinions on game mechanics and builds. I had a few suggested. They just didn't check out. They didn't meet the requirements that I set.
I feel you. Yeah, I
for
mean,
builds.
when I briefly started the league, I think I told you I was using the Frost.
The Whispering Ice.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, because you said I've never played. I played like 2 weeks after a league started, but I've never played like really exactly when a league started.
Mm-hmm.
Is shit like Unique's gonna be really expensive, or
yes? And
like is Whispering Ice gonna fucking be like 50 chaos?
no, it'll probably be for that staff. I would estimate it probably between like 5 and 10 chaos tops. They don't get too out of control, and honestly, they go down rapidly. Like
real fast.
It's gonna be half the price it was yesterday. Exalt's first day of the league. Exalt is like the highest currency in the game, other than mirrors. Whatever. Not getting into currency specifics here. Anyway, it was worth 19 chaos on the first day, and I almost made 19 chaos. And I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and buy an Exalt. I did not make 19 chaos, even though I played for 10 hours straight.
Jesus.
And then the next day I looked, and they were up to 40 chaos. So they doubled in price. So a little like currency tips for new players to Path of Exile. Playing a lot in the beginning makes a big difference. If you can sit there, and it's why a lot of streamers do it, is if you can sit there and play 24 hours straight, you can buy things like Exalts that keep going up in value hour by hour, and it just kind of rolls. It just spirals, and you just start making mass amounts of currency.
That's crazy.
Really quickly.
So the last league was bestiary.
Yeah.
And it was met with, all right, so it was my first time. So first time like really playing the game, so it wasn't like a big deal. I was kind of just learning the game, and I
Sure.
enjoyed that. But I heard that the league mechanic wasn't great.
A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was just kind of. I never looked at it and was like, I'm going to go capture. The whole mechanic was you capture beasts and then you can sacrifice those beasts to do something, right? Like it's either create an item or re-roll a property on an item or
Yeah.
open a map,
Yeah,
whatever. I never like went out and like tried to find specific monsters to complete these recipes essentially. I just kind of play the game and capture them, and then whatever I got was
Yeah, you're
whatever I
just like,
got.
yeah.
So I just didn't care, and capturing beasts wasn't super fun.
Uh-huh.
It just wasn't received very well, and that's why it's not part of the game at all. It's not like not even a piece of it is carrying forward.
Yeah, so they only keep mechanics from leagues that were like really interesting.
Which is why you still see breaches and abysses because they're just natural to the gameplay and they feel good. Their best league mechanics historically have been the ones that just involve killing.
Yeah,
that
like more mobs.
Yeah, people want to play Path just to like kill shit, get loot, and it's great when they do experiment with things like catch Pokemon, like last league.
Yeah,
But the ones that end up sticking are the ones that involve killing, which is what this league's mechanic essentially is.
So explain to me this league's mechanic.
Okay, so the league is called Incursion, and what that basically means is you're going to find an NPC that I forgot her name throughout leveling and through maps. And when you talk to her, she's going to open a time portal, which is like to this temple. Like this is like the story context or whatever. Like you're going back in time to a room in this temple. And what this room is, you get teleported there, is essentially just a bunch of waves of monsters.
That's cool.
But the actual mechanic here is you go into a room and there's 4 doors, like on all sides, whatever, and you kill the monsters, you get a key or whatever, and then you choose what door you're going to open, or you kill or you can kill a unique boss in there to like modify that room.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're creating a map for a dungeon that you're going to run after you complete 8 of these rooms. And that dungeon is going to be those rooms you completed with those modifiers you chose to put on them, or the path that if you open the top door and that leads to, I forgot, a drawer's room or something, then in that dungeon, you're going to have those two linked together. So you're basically crafting your own dungeon.
That's really cool.
It's a really neat mechanic. One thing about GGG and Path of Exile is they just like some of the most intelligent game designers. Like this shit is just like straight about like complex board game mechanics. Like it is really fucking cool. And seeing video game implementation of ambitious ideas like that is part of the reason why I love Path of Exile.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Path is like a million hard to get into / hard to understand mechanics. Like fucking
the only thing that I think that I've played that surpasses Path of Exile in terms of learning curve is Eve, and then I've heard the same thing said about Dwarf Fortress.
So here's the thing that we didn't plan on talking about, but because you brought up Eve, didn't they just have some new content update? Have you?
I have not read too much. I knew it was coming.
What is? Do you know at all what it is?
I know that it's basically what the mechanic that it's putting in, which is these PvE environments where you like move through these different rooms and it's on a time limit.
Okay.
And then also they put in RNG stuff that people weren't happy about. Like you can roll different stats on modules and equipment for your ship.
Okay.
So you can get lucky. They put RNG into Eve essentially, which a lot of veterans are not happy about. Other than that, it's the PvE content.
I think it's really big of Grinding Gear to be like, you know what? You guys are right. Fucking last league sucked. Or not like, not outright say it, but they don't.
No,
nothing
they're
happened.
self-aware.
They just change. Yeah, they just changed it. They listen to the community, not community. Yeah, they listen to the community, and it's just creating a better game. I mean, going into it, all these like interesting mechanics, like the purple hand thing. I'm pretty sure it's from Breach League or whatever.
Breach. Yep.
It's just like, it's interesting to see how they go. Oh, you guys like that? Well, we're gonna add it to the game now. You can do it whenever. And it's just like that's so.
And this
cool.
and this is all built on like the back of a great ecosystem where you have League and then Standard, and kind of League ends up being like this giant kind of it's tested beforehand, but it also serves as like this kind of more long-term test of like, all right, we're going to throw this mechanic we've come up with, tens of thousands of players for 3 months and just collect all that feedback. And then it's just like the most intense test you can have for mechanics like this. And then that's how they figure out what's going to stick. Yeah. It's just like a great ecosystem for that. And it's not an ecosystem that other games can necessarily use because re-rolling and making new builds for characters is essential to action RPGs, and that's not necessarily something you can do in other genres. So it's something that works for Path really well.
I wonder if Incursion, like I said, didn't play at the beginning of Bestiary, but were people initially positive on Bestiary?
No,
or was it was just negative on release?
Oh yeah, day one was terrible, but part of that was because it just launched with issues. Capturing Beast was extremely clunky and difficult to do, and no one necessarily understood it from the beginning or why they were even capturing the beast beyond just challenges. And also they all went to like the zoo or whatever. I never went in that place once to look at my beast.
Really?
Yeah, you like capture them and
the menagerie.
I went in there like the menagerie. I went in there once and was like, I don't remember capturing that. I have no connection to this. This is just a beast in a cage for some reason.
For me it ended up just being like, oh, a yellow thing on the map. Okay, press the net button.
Yeah,
like it wasn't anything crazy, but that's I don't know.
Incursions are more fun and they flow more naturally with the game.
Okay,
I would say this is a good. I say this for most leagues, but minus Bestiary. But this is a good league to hop in on.
I'm glad I hopped in on Bestiary.
Yeah. Well, you learn. Yeah, it can only go up from there. Probably.
Right. All right. So we kind of touched on Eve, which I don't know if you know, but it takes place in space. You know, right?
No,
what else takes place in space?
It doesn't take place in space. That's actually a misconception.
Oh,
it takes place in Excel. So it's primarily Microsoft Excel.
You're ruining my transitions, Matt.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Star Citizen, which is a video game that takes place in space and probably Excel, is offering a $27,000 package. What am I fucking looking at? It only shows up after you spent $1,000.
Yeah, that makes sense. They want to like confirm that you are rich before they.
Yeah, and they're just like, "Are you fucking stupid?" All right, bud, $27,000.
Yeah, I don't understand how they get away with it. Honestly, I do. Star Citizen is like built for whales, right?
Is it?
Essentially, like that's been their entire strategy overall. Is if you're making, and also we say $27,000, like that's a lot, and it is a lot, but when you
drop on a game,
sure, but when you attract whales, you're attracting multimillionaires, people that are making millions a year or billions or whatever, and the higher the price tag in their mind, they're like getting off on the enjoyment of being one of the elite few that had the privilege to spend $27,000 on a ship.
Oh my
So those ships are no doubt in my mind selling, and that's just like that doesn't just apply to video games, right? It's like why people buy $200,000 sports cars or whatever.
Yeah, but sports cars are physical. I mean, like, I'm all aboard buying, like...
If you get in physical versus digital, that's a whole nother thing.
But the thing is, I'm usually on board with digital purchases. Like, I'm fucking fine with buying a skin for a character because I want to look cooler, right? But it's like, there comes a point when it's like, do you want to spend $27,000? And like you said, I guess it's such a fucking different frame of mind to be in, where it's like, yeah, $27,000 isn't an insane amount
it's relative, right? Like, I guess the easiest way to put it is $27,000 to the guy that's spending it is $270 for you, right?
Yeah.
$10,000 to the guy that's spending $10,000. That was the $100 I spent on the Challenger pack for Path of Exile.
I get it. It's just like, it's fucking insane what people will fucking spend their money on, honestly. But like, so here's the thing: didn't it break records when it first like was announced on Kickstarter?
Yeah, it raised, I think, I don't know if it was 90 million initially or built up to 90 million, but I know one of the last times I checked from Kickstarter it was 90 million.
That's obscene. Give me 90 million. I'm gonna make a dope game.
90 million is a lot.
Hot takes. Hold on. I'm gonna add in music. Matt, give us another hot take.
90 million is a lot.
Yeah.
I think the budget for Destiny 1 was like 500 million. Just for like reference there.
So
games are expensive. I'm not 100% 500 million. I remember reading it. I don't know if that number is 100% accurate. I knew it was a lot of fucking money, and that also included marketing.
Okay.
So, but 90 million it's 500 million?
Yep.
Okay, confirmed 500 million. So yeah, 90 million is a lot, but it's not as much as you would think in terms of video game budget.
Yeah.
Video games are basically as expensive or more expensive than big blockbuster movies now.
I was reading a book recently talking about developing video games, and they put out a number there saying it's about $10,000 per month per person, right? And that includes their actual wage and then shit that they need. It's just an average, and it's crazy when you think about like how many months it takes to do something, or how many years rather. And it's just like, and how many people work on something. I mean, like, that's insane.
Yeah, and
fucking they had a story about Destiny in particular, and it's like, bro, how did that game even get fucking made?
Yeah.
Because there was like a shit ton of like that one point, the guy that was supposed to write the story like emailed out this fucking like this like basically bullet point section of what the story would be, and nobody in the entire place got it at all. And so they basically scrapped the story over halfway through development or something, and then they just pieced it together, which is why it ended up being like the Grimoire cards. Is it Grimoire or Grimoire? Whatever. Those cards were the only real story fucking telling aspect in that game.
Yeah.
And then the main thing was just a jumbled fucking mess.
Yeah, and all these points are also feed into the whole microtransaction and loot box thing as well. Is like, these developers, because of everything you just said, need to find a way to monetize these games that are a pain in the ass to make, that are super expensive. And, I'm all for this movement away from loot boxes and pay to win. But the problem is right now, and I'm sure everyone in the industry is trying to figure out the answer to this question, is fine. Fuck all that. What do you replace it with? How are we going to make money on these huge endeavors? We can't raise the $60 price tag. That's
Could it just be cosmetics, though? Because, I mean, Path is doing granted.
Path is doing great, but, I mean, like, how do you monetize these big, giant budget, like, single-player $60 games?
Well, that's the thing, is, like, I feel like single-player, like, for every God of War, there's a million, like, I'm trying to think of another AAA single-player story game that didn't sell that well. Fuck.
I don't know.
That wasn't AAA.
That was also crowdfunded.
Whatever, but for every God of War, there's like a million non-God of Wars, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like it's hard to do, but it's also like maybe it weeds it out, so it's only like the really good ideas, the decent designs make it to the top.
See, what actually happens is we just end up in a world where Bethesda's making the only single-player budget games.
What do you mean, CG Project Red?
And CG Project Red. I'm sorry. My point being is you have a handful of developers.
Fucking BioWare's doing. I mean, granted, they're doing Anthem now, which
they're doing Anthem games as a service.
But
they've also done Star Wars, the Old Republic. These big developers are just gonna keep getting pushed to these games as a service, because the games of a service model supports monetization, long-term monetization of the game, versus just spending that money up front.
You really have a positive outlook. I like it.
It's not necessarily like, this isn't like, I don't know. This is
your Matt's depressing corner.
This is partially like
you're harshing my vibes, Matt.
This is partially subjective, but also like I've done some research and I've listened to a lot of people talk about this topic. And again, like it all comes down to the question, like, what the fuck do you replace it with?
Games are gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all just dust.
Yeah, so I mean that's another good point. Is we're all just.
What's really the point?
What is money?
So I guess wrapping it back to something that we were actually talking about.
Sure.
How the fuck is this game gonna who's gonna come? This game's not even out yet. Star Citizen. And like, how is it gonna come out and people be like?
No one's going to be satisfied.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's just like
it was too ambitious from the beginning. If they somehow make this game and it's like everything every Space Sim fan has ever wanted, myself included, fuck yeah, great. I'm extremely doubtful that we will ever get a game of any quality. But it's just too much. It's unrealistic.
Much. I mean, the package supposedly contains 117 ships, which is a lot of ships. But it's like, how do they balance that? You know, how do they go? Like, if you are fucking, I feel like we asked Alberto this a while ago, but it's like, if you spend $10 on a ship, this dude spent 27 grand. Like, shouldn't he be more powerful?
No, because then it'd be pay to win.
Obviously.
And then no one will play your game.
But I mean, like, then who's buying the ships? Like, what are these ships? Like, if
cosmetic.
You think they're cosmetic?
Yeah. Cosmetic, and again, it's not these ships. No video game ship is worth $27,000 based on the quality of the ship. It's worth $27,000 because it's worth $27,000 because that is a prestigious price tag, and people are spending $27,000 to spend that money. They're not spending it. They're spending it partially to get a cool ship, but deep down, it's just so they can say they spent $27,000 on something that no one else can get because it was $27,000.
Listen, for all you multimillionaires or billionaires out there, I've got this water bottle right next to me, and I'm drinking out of it. But listen, if you want to buy this water bottle, 30 grand.
It's not one of a kind, though.
It's one of a kind. No other water bottle has been drank by me or drunk, whatever, by me at this point in time with my hand holding it like that.
Also potentially, you know, it's not logical, but in these people's minds, I imagine hundreds of thousands of people aren't going to see your water bottle. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to see that dude flying his 27 grand ship and be like, oh, damn, that guy is a fucking badass, and it's not depressing that he spent that money.
I mean, it's not. Like, if it fucking makes him happy, I guess, you know, and you got the money, but it's just like, damn, that's a lot. But switching gears, there's a new Fallout game.
76.
Yes, announced.
1976.
You think
1776? Fallout. Revolutionary War.
Holy shit, that'd be crazy. And you have to fucking
1776 is a significant year for some reason. It's going to be something really obvious, like the year...
It's 2076.
The year that... What?
Maybe... What do you know when this is taking place?
No.
Oh. Well...
I'm just spitballing. I have no idea.
Supposedly, it's going to be an online multiplayer survival game.
Yay.
You like legitimately yet?
No, not yet. Just like this has nothing to do with what I was just saying about Bethesda being the only people making single player games and now also making an online game.
I mean, what if what if Bethesda launches Fallout 76 and it's the next Fortnite, right? Probably won't be. But
it could be on the merit that it's Fallout.
Yeah, but
then it has microtransactions, and then they can finally enjoy the games of a service model and still make their single-player games, but then bitch about how their single-player games aren't making money, and then in 30 years, Bethesda will be the king of online survival co-op games.
Is there, I've heard this game is decent, right? It's not a single-player Fallout, which sucks, but I've heard it's good from the guy that leaked this, right?
Okay.
So from
who leaked this?
God damn it! Why would you gotta fucking ask me that fucking question? It was some guy on Kotaku. I don't remember his.
Oh, okay. I think I vaguely remember this.
Yeah. So he leaked it. There's gonna be obviously more info coming out at E3.
Fortnite 76 players dropping to an arena.
That would be cool. Jason Schreier.
What?
Is who linked it,
Oh.
or who made the post.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made the book that I was actually just talking about, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, I'm interested.
We're gonna find out in E3 in like 2 weeks. I think it's June 12th through 14th.
It's June 10th to 12th, I think.
10th through 12th.
I'm probably wrong. I think you're right.
Okay. So we'll find out. I know they said that they're going to reveal gameplay footage of it. Honestly, I'm not a die-hard Fallout fan. I'm fine with it. It's cool. I'll play them. They're fun. I'll play this.
Fallout 76?
But I'm not dying to play it. Yeah. I'm not dying to play online survival games, for that matter. So.
I'm definitely interested in it. We'll see how it goes. I hope Bethesda can fucking nail it, because otherwise it's just gonna be this is another hard one that is damn, you were working uphill.
I have to believe that it has battle royale elements. There's no way that I think that I mean, shoot me if I'm wrong. Anyone that's listening to this during E3,
Literally shoot Matt.
literally come to Georgia and shoot me. I'm willing to bet that this game has some form of battle royale elements in it. There's no way it doesn't. This is clearly a smart cash move by Bethesda. Otherwise, they would not be getting into the online arena, and survival games are kind of not on their way out, but they're not at its peak. What's at its peak? Battle royale. What happens if you combine survival with battle royale more so than it already has been?
RuneScape. Out in the wildy, dude. You ever been out in the fucking wildy before?
Fallout 76 is RuneScape.
Hell yeah.
I'm calling it right now that Fallout 76 is battle royale with survival elements. 100%.
I feel like that's not a dangerous bet, but you and I have a lot of industry connections.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I basically know everybody in Bethesda.
I listen to 6 to 9 hours of Giant Bomb a week, so.
You listen to 9 hours? Don't advertise somebody else's podcast on our podcast.
Whatever, man.
No, Giant Bomb's fucking great.
Yeah, Giant Bomb's fucking fantastic, and if anyone wants to broaden their knowledge on games, it's really the best way to just passively gain through it.
All right. Let's
Let's
move out of this. The 17 viewers that are listening, no, stick with us, guys. Another game that got announced that unfortunately Sirius, our resident Pokemon expert, isn't here to talk about.
Oh no.
Pokemon. Can I get some fucking feeling in that? Oh no, Matt.
Oh no.
Yeah, there it is. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
God forbid we talk about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
Jesus.
I don't care about Pokemon. Continue.
You don't care at all?
No.
About Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee? It's a remake of Yellow. The Pokemon finally follow you around.
Oh my god. This is another language.
What? Have you never played Pokemon?
I've played the one that I don't remember on 3DS because none of them are fucking memorable, and I don't know.
Fuck. All right.
I'm not that into Pokemon.
It's a remake of Yellow, which is, if you know, a Pokemon game that came out a long time ago.
Sounds like that.
Yep. It has a capture mechanic similar to Pokemon Go, though, which is interesting. This isn't the RPG that they were promised, or not promised, but this isn't like the big mainline Pokemon RPG that's supposed to come out in 2019, right? But this is kind of like a
cash grab.
I don't know if it's a cash grab. It seems actually really cool. With the you play Pokemon Go, correct?
Not really, no.
But do you know the capture mechanic?
You swipe to throw balls at Pokemon.
Exactly, basically.
Okay.
And it has difficulty, so it has that, which is interesting. The graphics look fucking great. Obviously it's a Switch. It's not like God of War level.
Oh, this is on the Switch?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a Pokemon game.
I wasn't sure if they were going to continue releasing Pokemons on 3DS or Switch.
Oh, for some reason I was like, what are you thinking on the Xbox? But I totally forgot about the fucking handheld.
No, I had no reason to believe that they were going to make a full transition. It makes sense for them to make a full transition over to Switch, but because of how many 3DSs are still out there, I didn't know if they were going to make that move now or later.
Yeah, this seems... I wouldn't call it a cash grab, but it does seem like a game that they're trying to be like, yo, hey, this is Pokemon still around. What's up? Everybody that owns a Switch, buy this. Also, we have a new Pokemon coming out next year, I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Like I said, it's a remake basically of Yellow. You go back to Kanto, Gen 1 Pokemon. I know that setting's used a lot, and for you and I who aren't huge Pokemon fans, I enjoy it. I don't hate it like you do. But
I have some nostalgia there only because of watching the TV show as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people were talking about how you go back to Kanto all the time, and it's kind of getting old potentially, but I don't know. I guess that's kind of based on who you are. And then it also has drop-in, drop-out co-op.
Oh, that's
which is
neat.
Really cool.
Sure. I know last podcast I was talking about how I wish there was some multiplayer options, ideally MMO level shit beyond Poke MMO and Pokemon Revolution.
Yeah.
So adding drop in and drop out co-op is that makes me more interested in.
Yeah, for sure, because it just means you can just be like, hey, what up? Oh, you want to play Pokemon? We can now do that.
All these games, the impression I get is they're all so similar. Why wouldn't you just go play Poke MMO or Pokemon Revolution? Why wouldn't you get the MMO aspect? Why do you care about playing new Pokemon? They're all the same shit, aren't they?
Bro.
At its core,
you're talking to the wrong person.
If
Sirius was here, He'd be blasting
At
your
its
ass.
core, it's just the same thing with new Pokemon. Why not just go play the MMO version, Pokemon Revolution? I played like 30 minutes of it. I was like, this is pretty cool. And I don't know. I don't know.
Like I said, I mean, Scotty, give me a yes or no. Is Pokemon good as fuck?
It's good, yeah.
All right, that's from our boy Scotty.
But you're not wrong. I like your idea.
But alongside this, actually came out like a I'm gonna call it a mobile game called Pokemon Quest. That's only out on Switch right now. It's coming to phones in June. But it's not like Go. It's not like a full-on Pokemon game. It's kind of like a more automated Pokemon game. I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't have a Switch.
Pokemon Runner.
No.
You just watch Pikachu run and you tap your phone to jump.
God, that would be depressing. I know Mario did that, but it would be depressing if Pokemon went that way. But no, it's I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I really hope that it works, because otherwise it's like, I don't know. I feel like I want to go back to that time when Pokemon Go just came out and everyone was like kicking it. Like I wish that this game has Pokemon Go elements, like being able to walk around. Like you have to buy like a separate like Pokeball thing, but you can like store, I guess, like a Pokemon in there and then go on walks with it. I'm not exactly sure how that thing works, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be really interesting for them to explore like a more social Pokemon aspect, where like you kind of have like, what's that term where it's like pseudo real but it's not really
AR?
Yeah.
Augmented reality?
Yeah, why am I that dumb? Yeah, like if they explore more like augmented reality kind of shit with Pokemon.
I mean, I hope they explore. I mean, they're going to explore more augmented reality stuff with everything forever, probably. I mean, in like 10 years, you're not going to be able to go anywhere without AR. You're going to walk into a fucking coffee shop and see essentially a holographic menu that's changing, but everyone will have some variation of Google Glass or something.
God, I'm so hyped.
The only thing that like I got from Pokemon Go was that AR is definitively the future. There's no way around it.
No, I mean I agree with that. I don't know. I like Pokemon Go, but this is kind of. I think they're gonna have more shit at E3. Don't they do their own thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Nintendo Direct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're getting a yes from our
Producer.
slave/producer.
Slave.
New MMO came out.
Yeah.
New. I'm putting that in air quotes.
Yeah. It's
You
funny.
are our MMO king, queen.
Some say that. Some do say that.
So this was hyped up.
That's my username when I make like I like making like a female night elf hunter and name your MMO queen.
Oh, God.
Get her like level 32.
This bit's over. I'm done with this
Drop
bit.
it.
Tell me about Bless Online, okay? Because it was supposed to be like a good game. Supposedly it's
No.
not a good game.
So I followed Bless Online leading up to the launch because I follow every MMO because I am one of the hopeless many that play MMOs. There was a group of people that are so desperate and jaded for an MMO that they thought Bless was going to be a good thing. And then there was another group of people that were looking at Bless Online from a more logical standpoint and saying, this failed in Japan, this failed in Korea, now they're going to bring it here and it's going to succeed?
But
No.
Well, I heard they were changing mechanics.
They supposedly were changing some mechanics. For example, they changed some of the melee classes to have action combat released and then said this isn't good enough and then took it out after it released.
Oh, interesting.
Bless Online is like an actual like flaming pile of garbage. But because it's an MMO, it got people like Soda Poppin' to play it, so it made front page of Twitch for multiple days.
Oh, really?
And everyone just like tuned in to watch these streamers suffer through what could be the worst MMO launch since, I don't know. What was a terrible MMO launch? It's been a while.
God damn.
It's been a while since
Was BDO,
really...
was BDO bad?
BDO was fun.
Albion was bad.
Okay, Albion had a bad MMO launch. There's been bad MMO launches. They all run together. This one was particularly bad. This one I'll remember probably in 3 years.
Is it free to play?
No, it's not. It's $40 on Steam.
Shit.
Also, Steam was offering to get away from the wildfire. Steam was offering people refunds for like 5 to 8 hours after they bought it. Like they just ignored their own rule because of the dumpster fire this was.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I'm really glad Steam added in those refunds because there's a lot of times like you buy a game, you're
Yeah.
like, damn, I just have this shit game now that I spent a lot of money on. Like,
So at face value, they're having server issues. You couldn't even make it through conversations. Like you hit continue on dialogue, and it wouldn't continue. Optimization was terrible. People were getting terrible frame rates. They had to do the usual, like go into configs and change terrain distance, rendering, whatever. Some people like were saying they're tweaking. The action combat apparently wasn't up to quality. They removed that. Then a few Valiant Souls all leveled up to 45, which was the game's cap,
God
and
bless.
realized there was no content. Like the end game
Really?
wasn't in. Period. There was like one dungeon or two dungeons, and that was all you could do was run one dungeon or two dungeons once a day, and that's all there was to do. The PvP zone that was supposed to be in the game and have monsters in it wasn't in it. The big battles that were supposed to be in the game aren't in, and then the only PvP there was like these 3v3 matches.
Oh no.
Everything about this game was just like, and then some people are like, well, it's technically early access. I'm sure they'll patch all this stuff in.
Yeah, it shouldn't be early access though.
Sure, yeah, it shouldn't be. But they said maybe they'll patch it all in, but it doesn't matter because at this point they didn't tell anyone. They weren't upfront about any of it, what was in and what wasn't in the game. They pretty much just straight up lied about a lot of the stuff that even if they patch in, it's too late.
I feel like MMOs specifically are one of the most important genres to get the launch correct.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I'm trying to think of it. I think it's just MMOs, really.
It's pretty much MMOs. Other games can fix themselves over time. Games as a service, improved by Destiny. Destiny had a terrible launch, and it's certainly recovered.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not like they can't recover, right? If
Yeah.
they make Bless a good game, fucking all better.
They
for 'em.
won't. I mean, especially with these MMOs, it's just the publisher, right? They take these games that were made by developers in the East, and these publishers pick it up. They might do a little bit of in-house development, but not a lot, right? They don't have the full support of a dev team.
Kind of like Arcade.
Arcade or BDO, but BDO was a special case where it sucked people in because people were really hungry for sandbox.
Yeah,
style
and then
games.
it was kind of the same thing, like how you were talking about Soda Pop and played Bless. I remember
Yeah.
Summit 1G played
Yeah.
a lot of BDO,
Yeah.
and then people bought it and they realized, oh, holy shit, this is just grinding.
Yeah, which some people are okay with. Like,
Yeah.
BDO is the best of the Eastern releases here. But it also required the least amount of development to, like, get it right, whereas Bless require more. They don't have the resources to... I'm guessing they don't have the resources to fix this game. I give it 6 months to a year before it's canceled.
Wow,
Or shut down. I don't think I'll make it far.
that's crazy. Damn.
Yeah.
I really wish. It's probably just the nature of like getting older and then doing shit, but like I really wish there was another MMO that was like, wow, you know, you first fucking launch that shit, and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah, and even now with, like, playing vanilla on private servers and stuff, you still get that feeling, and I've thought about it a shit ton. I think a lot of it has to do with just pacing. Everything in WoW takes longer, so you're kind of forced to let things sink in more, whether that be combat or
Yeah.
areas, or, you know, when it takes 30 seconds to kill a mob and you're spending most of that time just auto-attacking, you're kind of taking in the world more.
Yeah, but it also sounds really boring.
Depends
Like,
what
WoW-
depends what you find exciting and boring. I
Because like
guess.
WoW combat now is like, oh, it's got WoW combat.
Mhm.
You know, that's a con. I feel right because like
Well, now it's more split. It was that for a while, and then there's still a decent group of people after all the action MMOs, and after I think people kind of felt like they saw the peak of action MMOs with BDO with that style of combat.
yeah.
A lot of people are just like, no, you know what? I prefer tab target for MMOs.
Yeah, I mean, WoW's combat, I don't think it's bad. It's just
No.
like, you know, it is just, there is no dodge mechanic. Like, honestly, if I had best combat goes to WildStar, personally.
I agree that best action combat is pretty much tied between WildStar and BDO for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish.
Which an honorable mention to Terra, in case someone gets touchy about that, because I know people are very defensive about Terra's combat. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think it's bad. I honestly, it sucks that it's got like such a shitty launch. But like, if they didn't really put any fucking like, they probably saw it coming. You know what I mean? And I wish games at all didn't fail, but I guess it's gotta end up that way so
Yeah,
people learn their
well,
fucking lessons.
And with these Easter MMOs, they probably knew it was going to fail, but also they don't care because it's already finished, right? It's already failed.
Yeah.
They're just releasing a failed product into
To, like, salvage
two
and shit.
markets and into new markets where people are hungry for that product, and they know a certain amount of people are going to buy it no matter what. So they're just making more money off of a failed product. And in reality, what they're really doing is trying to salvage all the money they lost releasing in other areas. But there's still like no reason not to release it here and have all these MMO hungry people hop on it, spend the $40. And, I mean, some of them got refunded.
Yeah.
But, spend the $40, salvage what they can of a terrible game.
All right. You got anything else you want to talk about, Matt?
No.
All right.
More Path of Exile for me.
You're already on fucking maps, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've practiced a lot.
Yeah.
I think it took me. It's still rough. The fastest time is like 4 hours leveling with Sunder, to get to level 60, and it took me to get to maps this time like 9 or 10 hours. So I still have a long ways to go before I can, like rush maps. Like get there and like ideally I would like to get down to 6 to 7 hours to get to maps.
I was when you I guess when you play on launch, it'll give you like a little message on like the left side of your screen that's like, hey, first to whatever.
Yeah.
It was funny because like in the beginning it was like, oh, this guy got the first to fucking, not Hillock. Fucking what's the prison boss? The Brute or whatever. Cage Brute, is that what it's
Brutus
called?
or something. I think it's Brutus.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, that guy's not that far ahead of me.
No.
And then it's like slowly but surely
No,
it
the
was like,
gap just.
yeah, level 28. What? I'm
Yeah.
fucking 8. How the hell did he get there already?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's nuts.
I need to, and I realized this to like fix that for me to make myself faster. I need to spend more prep time in terms of, all right, this is when I get these skills. This is the links. These are the colors I need. And also like, I know the maps, but I don't, sometimes I just derp on like where the next door is to the next area.
I feel that.
So,
All right. This has been episode 18.
hell
Coming
yes.
at you only 1 week after episode 17. It's crazy. We
That's
don't have
crazy.
we don't have Sirius. He may be here for the next one. He may not be. We don't really know. But thanks for tuning in. I said it earlier in the podcast, but if you got a question, email. Oh, should we check the questions? I just remembered that we said that last podcast. It's only been up for a minute. I'm not gonna check. All right, listen. Email us your questions at casuallytoxicquestions@gmail.com. Please, somebody ask about Matt's toe shape. We all really want to know. Other than that, if you like the podcast, share it with your friends. Give us a like. Give us a comment. I don't know what else they say in YouTube videos. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thank you.